Hello, everyone, and welcome to watch another episode of Men's Guide to Happiness, where we're trying to get more people become happy, especially men. And for this episode, Ed has joined us. Ed, hi.
Hello there. Oh, pleasure to join you.
hmm And tell us a little bit about yourself first for the viewers.
Yes, so I'm Ed. I set up a company called Finch Model. Strapline is order out of confusion, purposely keeping that quite broad. What I specialize in is coaching for startup entrepreneurs. So I'm currently qualifying as an exponential coach. I've been in coaching since the early 1990s, so I was one of the first in the UK to qualify as a coach to assess other coaches. So been in
hmm
this a long, long time and helping people set up businesses for many years. So that in a
hmm
nutshell is what I do.
hmm And you're originally from England, but right now you're in.
In France, yes, yes.
hmm
Enjoying sunny France. Beautiful weather, except it's dark now. So but
hmm
yes, lovely hot, sunny
hmm
weather and beautiful people, beautiful countryside, and the food, of
hmm
course.
Compared to England, England is rainy, right?
Oh, it's always raining there, and people are well, they're just not happy enough. I partly moved to France to get away from the stress and pressures I found in England. I just didn't find I could be myself there. Here I can be myself. It's a
hmm
huge difference. It's a huge difference. Everybody finds what suits them, and yeah,
hmm
France is suiting me. Get a
That
much better
sounds
life here for
awesome.
me.
hmm
Yes,
So that's
yeah.
actually interesting as well. Interesting that you just pointed out before we're gonna
Mm,
um, talk about other questions about happiness, but
mm.
location. If you find a location that feels right for you, that
Absolutely,
actually makes a
absolutely.
difference for your happiness as well.
Absolutely. There's a whole raft of factors that affect happiness, and location's one of them. The environment that you're in, the people that surround you, general environment, daily pressures of life, all these things contribute to a happy life. And so I'm sort of giving a big sort of overview of happiness. That yeah, I'm much happier in France,
hmm
much happier, and I find the whole environment so much more comfortable. Yeah, whatever life
hmm
throws, if you've got everything else lined up, you can have a happy life.
hmm
Yes,
But I
that's the
think
main thing.
also like you found France as your place, but for somebody else, England might be that
Mm.
place. So you have to know what feels
Yes,
for you personally, what is a place that you
yes,
like to be.
yes. I mean, oh, I've always said to people over the years, you've got to find what suits you, and it's not the same for everybody. And you can listen to other people, you can listen to their advice, and you can listen to their offers. And there's an awful lot of marketing going on these days, very glossy marketing going on. You can listen to
hmm
other people pitching you things, but I always say try things, try something out, experience it
hmm
for yourself. And if you experience enough different situations, just sampling, and if you take the time out to think about what situation is going to make your life better and what do you believe in and what's right for you, you can find the right balance. You've got to try things out. You've got to be adventurous.
hmm
And it's being very adventurous to move to a different country where I hardly
hmm
speak the language. Yeah.
hmm But that just made me think about that. So many people, they think, oh, for a long time, or maybe even for all of their life, they think like,
Mm,
oh, if I would have ever moved there, I would have
mm,
enjoyed it so much more. Or if I ever would have been that, I would have enjoyed it so much more. But they never
yeah.
do it. So they just go through all their life just thinking about
Yeah.
doing that.
Yes. a lot of people live regrets, and I've heard this from a lot of people that have said, "Oh, you're so brave to do it. I wouldn't be brave enough to do it." Well, my advice as a coach would be to not to think about a problem as a barrier. Think about it as an opportunity for a creative solution. And I use this a lot with people. And there is always ways. What we did is we I spent a year researching France. I spent a whole
Mm-hmm.
year sitting down and researching the country, whereabout everything I could find about it. Nowadays, to spend so long, and then we just literally came, tried it, and just by coming on visits and experiencing and
Mm-hmm.
getting a feel for it firsthand, then we knew it was the right thing to do. We just had to choose where in France and test it. So just take small steps. The small
Mm-hmm.
steps gives you the confidence to take another step, and you've got to break things down. Try and take everything on in one big go. Break it down and try small steps at a time, and then you get it. And don't live life in regrets. Don't live life in regrets. Try it. Just, even if it's just a small piece, it gives you the confidence to try a little bit more, or to know whether, well, perhaps it wasn't what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings you happiness. The relief brings you happiness as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I agree with that. Try new things, and if it
Mm,
don't get discouraged if it didn't work out. You have to
exactly.
be able not to
Yeah.
get discouraged when things didn't go the way you
Mm,
planned that they will go.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And in the context of entrepreneurship, which is what I specialize in, there's something a lot of coaches say that's very useful. Failure is not a failure. It's an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to learn. And Thomas Edison famously was asked how he managed with 1,000 experiments that failed. And he
Mm-hmm.
just simply said, they weren't failures. I just know 1,000 things that didn't work until I
Mm-hmm.
found what did. So
Mm-hmm.
if something doesn't work out, then it's just an opportunity to learn from that and then move on. Don't take it to heart. Normally it's not your fault. There's all kinds of factors that can come into something not working out, but it's try to reframe it not as a failure, but just as something that didn't work out, and learn
Mm-hmm.
from it, learn from that experience, and move on. Put it
Mm-hmm.
behind you.
I call it practicing. I don't call it
Yes,
failure either. I say I practiced.
yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Whatever other label that works for you.
yes, exactly, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
that brings a smile to my face, because just a little joke for you, a slight one here. Reminds me of a comedian's observation about doctors. They said, "Why does doctors what they why is it what they call themselves a doctor's practice? Are they not good enough?"
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always a doctor's surgery, it's a doctor's practice.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, you got to see the fun side of life sometimes.
Yeah, you take it
Yeah,
like as experiment and fun thing and something to again like something to try.
yes,
Because you brought
yes.
up Edison, and I was just
Mm,
thinking another day I was outside. I talked with other guests as well, like how he
yeah,
was probably sitting outside. I assuming he was sitting outside looking at the lightning. Because I was
yeah,
sitting and looking at the lightning outside as well, and he was just like, well, let's just put it inside this little glass thing.
yes,
It's like,
yes,
how could somebody's brain take something like that and make it like
yeah,
to electricity?
yeah,
It's just amazing. People
yeah.
are so amazing.
Yes, I have conversations with people about a whole wide spectrum of different things, and I always try and think of something from my past that I can relate it to. And I had a conversation with somebody recently about who was designing speakers, and
Hmm.
he was designing all the component, making the components and everything himself. And I'm thinking, what can I tell him that's useful? And then he said um, he wanted to do something a little bit different. And I was like,
Hmm.
right, I can tell him something useful now. So I said to him, look at nature. look at the design of nature and ears and how nature. I said scientists are still now can't emulate nature. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much in nature that is so much more advanced than anything we can produce. So yes, I think we'll always be inspired by nature probably for centuries to come. I'm not sure if we'll ever catch up. Yes, that may well be where Edison got his idea. He saw the lightning and thought, how can I capture that? It's electricity. There must be a way to capture that and use that moment of light and continue it. And yes, so he just carried
Mm-hmm.
on until he got there. Don't give
Mm-hmm.
up. Don't give up.
Yeah. Same with the airplane. You're like watching the birds fly, and it's like, well, let's make people fly.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I saw a documentary, many years ago, where they were looking at flight, and they gave an example a helicopter. So modern helicopters able to maneuver extremely well, but it is absolutely nothing compared with the dragonfly. You know, the way the dragonfly's wings move
Mm-hmm.
independently and the speed and the maneuverability, and it can go from standstill to top speed way, way, way better than anything that we
Mm-hmm.
can produce. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
so many
Yeah,
fascinating opportunities. Yes,
nature is
yes,
so amazing. But that
it is.
actually that made me think about how it's connected to the happiness. I think
Mm.
that comes together to happiness as curiosity.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of curiosity, although there's a flip side to this, and I often say to people, and I get criticised for this quite rightly sometimes myself, don't overthink things. Don't
Mm-hmm.
overthink things. I believe that we're probably the only species on the planet that overthinks. We overthink everything. We want to justify it, want to question it, and we overthink. Can you think of
Mm-hmm.
another species on the
Mm-hmm.
planet that that really tries to think to the depth that we do about every situation, everything that they do in life? We're quite complex creatures in that way. We
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot of time debating with ourselves, debating with other people, should we, shouldn't we, instead of just getting on with it and doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
that quite often holds people back from happiness because they're spending
Mm-hmm.
so long trying to
Exactly.
justify it to themselves, justify it to other people, instead of just do it, just live it, be
Mm-hmm.
happy in who you are, and don't worry. I Another little thing I saw. I was at an event many years ago, and the compere came on, and he said something that stayed with me, and I often share this with people because I think it was a moment of sheer brilliance. He looked
Mm-hmm.
out at the audience, probably a couple of hundred people, and he said, "Before I start," he says, "I just want to tell you this." He said, "One third of you in the audience won't like me. You can't stand me, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I don't mind. I'm just not going to pay any attention to you because you're not going to change your mind. One
Mm-hmm.
third of you love me and you connect with me and you think I'm brilliant. I'll give you lots of attention. One
Mm-hmm.
third of you haven't made your mind up yet. So I'll give you attention and I'll engage with you. Because the one third that don't like me and can't stand me, there's no point in me trying to engage with you and trying to change your mind because it's a waste of your time and mine. So I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite fascinating. That was quite a fascinating lesson in life that we spend a lot of time trying to convince people who have already made their mind up and don't want to change their mind, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to endear ourselves to people when a third won't change their mind at all, no matter what you do. One third will change their mind either way. Decide,
Mm-hmm.
concentrate on those two thirds, not the one third.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, that's a
quite
very
a
good advice as well in life.
mm,
Do you
yeah.
think if we go back to overthinking, do you think men
Mm.
overthink more or women overthink more? So I know women
It's a
overthink. I know I don't overthink almost at all now anymore because of the
mm,
practice. I've done practice, not overthinking. But
Yes.
I know so
Yes.
many women that overthink. Is there a lot of overthinking in men as well?
I would say there is. Yes, there is. Um, it's a tough question to answer accurately with any degree of accuracy because my observation through life has been that men tend to hide their feelings more. They're
Mm-hmm.
more conscious of they need to have this traditional role and they need to fulfill their traditional role, so they can't tend to show weakness and
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability. So there's that added pressure. So they hold back and they keep everything inside generally. So yes, I they do overthink a lot. I just that's my impression. They just don't admit it. I think I've met many people over the years who give an outward impression of being brilliant and successful and everything else. When you get to know them, inside they're hiding a lot of their inner feelings. They're internalizing a lot, which isn't entirely healthy. That doesn't lead to happiness either. Yeah, so I would
Mm-hmm.
say, generally speaking, yeah, I would say it's probably about equal. Probably about equal. It's just shown in a different way. Women are more outward and men are more inwards. And they're more hold their feelings in and not show vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and one thing that I teach as well, happiness is so much overtaught as well. Instead of just being happy, they're just overthinking how to be happy.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And I think, as you say, people sort of they're not quite sure how to be happy. They're not quite sure how to change their situation. I meet lots of people who haven't decided where they want to go in life, and
Mm-hmm.
haven't sort of really thought about their purpose in life, or haven't got a purpose in life, or think they haven't. They have,
Mm-hmm.
but they just haven't released it. And this is
Mm-hmm.
one of the differences that's really interesting to get in. I've been learning with one of the world-class coaches. He's an exponential coach expert, and what he does is he gets right deep down into people's feelings and helps them to release what they didn't know was buried. And I think that's one of the things with people is they're looking for happiness, but they don't quite know what that means or where it is and what it means to them. If you can
Mm-hmm.
unpick what it means to you, then you're successful.
Mm-hmm.
The
So you
question of
have to
what is
go.
happiness, the question of what is happiness is another question altogether.
So what would you say? What is the people's average thinking about what, not right now what you think happiness
Hmm.
is, but what is the society's view of what is happiness?
Complex, I think is the answer to that. I think because we're bombarded with a lot of social media and a lot of news channels, a lot of television programs portraying a highly edited version of reality,
Mm-hmm.
people's perception of happiness is biased by what isn't quite true or reality. Uh, amongst my illustrious past, I spent time even as a supporting artist behind the scenes on film and television. So I've seen the difference between what actually happens when they're
Mm-hmm.
creating and what's put out. And they're
Mm-hmm.
quite different. They're very different. A lot of stuff gets changed and edited and all the rest of it. So, yes. So I think generally speaking, people are still clamoring to know what is happiness and what it means to them. And there's also, as I was saying earlier, there's this fear of trying things out. If they don't try things out, they don't know what's going to make them happy, and they're afraid of making a fool of themselves. Some people are happy by making a fool of themselves. They're happy that makes them
Yeah.
happy. You
Yeah.
you've really got to find, just I would say, just by experimentation, what brings you the happiness of all. And just to sort of put that the challenge of the question into context, I was hearing recently an anecdote about the Dalai Lama. Um, he went into a restaurant, slightly incognito, wasn't expecting to be recognised, and the waitress recognised him and asked him if the Dalai Lama. He says, "Yes, I'm the Dalai Lama." She says, "Can I ask you a deep question?" "Yes, of course." She said, "What is the meaning of life?" And the Dalai Lama looked at her and said, "That's easy. The meaning of life is happiness. The difficult question is, what is happiness?" And
Mm-hmm.
that's the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama hasn't sorted it out. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're all challenged. It largely because it means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
You've, it means what lights your life up, what what allows you to be yourself, a true self, and to not fear other people's judgments. I think a lot of time people imagine what's in somebody else's head. They imagine somebody else is thinking certain things, and that
Mm-hmm.
brings about fear. You don't know what's in somebody else's head. All you
Mm-hmm.
can see is their outward appearance, and that might be deceptive. So stop worrying about that so much. I'm not saying to be extreme in society. I'm just saying that you
Mm-hmm.
should find the things that bring you joy and that don't adversely affect other people if you can. But you really do need to try out different things in life. You need to stretch yourself. You need to take yourself out of your comfort zone as often as you can, because only by doing that you start to discover things that make you happy, that bring you happiness, that bring joy and pleasure and light your life up, and deal with probably the biggest issue of the 21st century, stress. That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge issue, and that's very negatively impacting on health. Um, I know the world is in an economic crash at the moment, has been
Mm-hmm.
for a number of years, and I've noticed that businesses are putting more and more pressure on staff. There's this whole work from home, come back into work scenario.
Mm-hmm.
There's cutting back in staffing levels. There's more pressure on managers, and people are feeling more pressure. And the more pressure you're under, the less happy people become, because
Mm-hmm.
stress is the antithesis of happiness. So
Mm-hmm.
it's finding ways to deal with that, finding simple techniques that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, I've been in coaching since the early 1990s, and I've always said to people, find I can coach you in different things, and coaching is different from teaching. Teaching will teach you techniques. Coaching will help the individual to become the best version of themselves. And you do
Mm-hmm.
that by giving a variety of techniques, not just one. And you bring out the best in that person. You help them to bring out the best in themselves. And that's where you can find true happiness is by drawing it out of yourself and taking yourself out of your comfort zone, questioning things that you thought traditional ways of thinking, and questioning what's important in your life and where you want to go, and all these sort of things that people are probably afraid of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you just do that step by step, process by process. And it's like you were saying earlier, you can change a lot of things if you do it in steps. And if you take a little step at a time, you can change a lot of things about your life. And the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I would say people need to change most, and the analogy I used to use all those years ago, is I used to say to people, you've got one enemy to defeat, and then that's the hardest enemy to defeat. And that enemy is like a muscle. You've got to feed it, and you've got to rest it, and you've got to work it. It's the one between your ears. That's the
Mm-hmm.
enemy you've got to defeat. That's the muscle you've got to work, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got to feed it. You've got to exercise it. You've got to strain it, and you've got to rest it. And you've got to treat it like any other muscle. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, it becomes lazy and it doesn't work properly. it becomes
Mm-hmm.
weak. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to find different ways. People exercise in different ways, so they exercise this in different ways. What
Mm-hmm.
suits you?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot
You're
there.
saying like it's getting lazy. It can get lazy, but also, yeah, besides lazy, that's where it can get either sad or angry, all those
Yes.
negative emotions as well. So
Yeah.
the way you have
Yeah.
to exercise, so it will
Yeah.
find positive solutions and positive actions and things.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's what
Yes.
you have to train it for.
Yes. And I also quite often use the doctor analogy again, and it's something when I was I've had many roles in work before, everything from the bottom of the rung
Mm-hmm.
up to chief exec, trustee, director, president. I've probably done most of the roles, but the one I found most useful is just something very, very simple. And that is to say, when people are reacting to you in a way that seems negative, people's automatic response is to respond to the behavior. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of doing that, treat every person, every situation like a doctor. What you're seeing is a symptom. Your job is to discover what is the cause behind it, because the cause is often very different from the symptom that you're looking at and is in front of you. So when people are behaving aggressively or angry, getting angry, instead of joining them, instead of becoming part of the problem, you want to take a little mental step back and say, what's behind that? What's causing that? And if you take that mental pause and even take a physical time pause, take a time out, just a short time out, just stop and think, why are they behaving like this? Why are they doing this? What's behind? What's not what you're seeing, not the symptoms you're seeing, what's behind it? That changes everything. That changes everything. And that pause, that moment, instead of everybody's reacting at the same time, firing one off another,
Mm-hmm.
you just take that little pause, and you're amazing how often it calms everything down. And you can find all kinds of anecdotes about this and people who are really good at calming down angry people. Mostly what they do is they take that mental step back. They take that pause and they don't allow themselves to be drawn in. I used to say to people, sometimes I still do, when somebody's trying to take you down, when somebody's putting you down, your instant reaction is to take it to heart and to feel bad about it. There's a different way to look at it. There's a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they doing it? Why are they doing that to you? What I often say, more often than not, is quite simply that they recognize you are here and they are there. And the only way they can cope with that is to take you down
Mm-hmm.
below them. And that's their purpose. So don't allow them to
Mm-hmm.
belittle you. Don't drop your standards. Don't drop yourself below. It doesn't mean you're superior to them. You're different in a different place. But don't allow them to draw you down and take you down. Don't allow that to happen. Just try and calm the situation down or remove yourself from that situation. But don't change or lower who you are, because that's not serving you and it's not serving them.
Mm-hmm.
Always try and it's again, you can only do that by taking this mental pause, this step
Mm-hmm.
back, take a
Mm-hmm.
break, take a take a breath, and that changes the situation again.
Mm-hmm.
Another
I
little
like the way you
technique.
put it. Yeah, I like the way you put it as well. It's exactly like that because when you react, I'm gonna pretty much say the same thing, but a little bit in a different
Mm,
way. When
mm,
you react the same way that that person
yeah,
does,
yeah, yeah,
exactly like you said, you right away in the same level with them. So
mm,
now you think that that person is not good, but you just brought yourself to not being that good as well. You just like
Yeah,
you exactly
yeah,
if you think that person is not right, they're not doing the right thing, you right there with him if you're uh, reacting the same way.
yes. There's a lovely quote, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was by, but it dates back to the Victorian times. It's that old, and, and it's one you have to think about a bit and reflect on. And the quote is a very short one. Never pick an argument with a fool. An onlooker can't tell which one's the fool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
the
is
more
so
you think
true.
about it, the more it
Mm-hmm.
becomes obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You just, yeah, just
Yeah. You
there's
just
no
have to
point in,
you
yeah,
had to withdraw and just stay in the silence, decide like, okay.
yeah,
After a few sentences, you already figure out if the person is
mm,
just trying to win the conversation or just
mm,
uh, trying to stay on top of a thing. They're not even thinking about finding a solution. They just want to
no,
argue. And then
yeah,
if as soon as you realize that, you just stop.
mm,
You
yes,
stop and start like either you withdraw yourself from conversation or you have to leave the situation. But if you know
yeah,
that the other person is not even trying to find a solution, is just trying to have an argument,
yeah.
then like you said, you're gonna be the fool having an argument with that person.
Yes, yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
some people just by nature love to be right and they hate to be wrong on anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's just personalities. So if that is the person's personality, then you're fighting a losing battle. But
Mm-hmm.
you need to sort of really think about what's right and what's wrong. Another thing I used to use in when I was a chief exec, um, I used to say to people, to criticize is the easiest thing in the world. It's so easy. That's why most people do it. To think of a to think of a situation that you're critical of and think of a solution is difficult. That's why less people do it. To think of
Mm-hmm.
a difficult situation, think of a solution, and then implement the solution, that's the most difficult of all. That's that's the biggest challenge. Are you up to that challenge, or do you just want to take the easy route and just criticize and not offer anything constructive?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you use that with the right people. Sometimes you can use that, and it changes the whole situation. You can turn you if you take this pause in arguments and you take this time to think about the other person's viewpoint and where they're coming from, you can see a way to turn it around. You can see a way to change the whole conversation. And that pause, that taking a break, not only reduces anger and arguments, but it also enriches your life because you're giving something of value. For
Mm-hmm.
me, that's one of the big things that brings me happiness is bringing value to people's lives, helping them. I love
Mm-hmm.
doing that. That makes me. I'm a giver by nature. My fiance is as well. We're givers by nature. Quite challenging when we're both givers,
Mm-hmm.
but we actually complement each other really well. Everybody's different. Everybody's different, and
Mm-hmm.
you have um, when you're asking about the happiness, and I mentioned right at the start, this is about the environment that you're in. That includes the people you're with. Surround
Yes.
yourself with supportive people. Surround
People
yourself
are very
also with,
important.
yes, with supportive people, but also people who challenge you in a constructive way. Because you don't just want people who agree with you all the time. You want people
Mm-hmm.
who stretch you, people who call you out when you're doing the wrong and saying the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
People you can trust, people who respect you and you respect them. That's so important. So important.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. So, what do you think happiness is for women? Like, do men think about
Yeah.
what makes women happy?
Very generally, I would say yes, but I would say there's a probably a very generalistically, there's a three-way split. There's men who are quite traditional in their values. I'm in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in that whole group of very traditional values and respect women and very caring. There are men at the other end of the extreme who are more controlling and want to be dominant in a very sort of very traditional role of in charge. And then there is
Mm-hmm.
the group in the middle who are sort of split between the two. So yes, it's hard to pick. There is that sort of imbalance, and it's very individualistic. And when you're surrounding yourself with the right people, you need to think about the people that are around you. What do they bring to you? Um, you can't. I know there's a situation that people can't control, and some of the listeners might be sort of thinking, well, there's members of my family that I don't get on with. You can't choose your family, but you can choose how you interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your friends, definitely, you can choose who your friends are because they
Yes.
are much more important in many ways because they are your choice and their choice. You come
Mm-hmm.
together because it's mutually beneficial and you get on. So yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
but women, as we were saying before, have they're probably more open generally with their feelings than men. That is changing. Society's changed, and but I would say from some of the training I've gone through, um, women have much more of a glass ceiling where their feelings are hidden. They're held back by the traditional roles, and and they're reticent to be more outward. That's not me sort of trying to sound chauvinistic. This is learning from Dr. Claire Zamet, who's the world authority on coaching women. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that she's coaches a lot about is the glass ceiling of the traditional roles women have had, and as they move up into the hierarchies of business and into very senior roles, she coaches people at that level as well, and they're very good at putting on a front, but they haven't dealt with the inner glass ceiling. Whereas men have an almost an equivalent version, but theirs is just holding their feelings inside for fear of not being seen as the male role model and the provider, and society's changed all that now. So both men and women are going through this sort of rebalancing of where their feelings should be
Mm-hmm.
and trying to find where they fit. And as society changes, people are constantly sort of trying to redress this balance.
Mm-hmm. I think
Uh,
one thing men try to hold the feelings inside still, but they also don't know, they don't understand their feelings
mm, yes, yes,
because they
yeah,
have not had to label their feelings. They, even if they feel good, they know what anger is mostly.
yeah,
Not
yes, yeah,
all the men know what anger is, but they don't know so much. So like some of them, they don't know what is love or what the
mm,
love feels like because they haven't experienced it or they have not taught how to actually love.
mm. That's a lot of tradition coming in there. It's about reprogramming because men have traditionally been told not to express soft emotions. Just hold it in, be macho, and don't show your soft side. And society's changing, so yes,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of that, and that's why I was saying men tend to hold their feelings internally. Um, there are quite a lot of groups and that are going on now where when men get together and they share everything, even at the
Mhm.
top coaching levels. And I know that the coaches that I'm working with at the moment, Rich Litvin, has done this for quite a number of years. He has an inner circle of men who get together every single week, and they share to each other something that nobody knows about them, and they
Mhm.
don't want anybody to know about them. And they
Okay.
do this week after week. They share something that they didn't want anybody else to know about them. And that's really taken them out of their comfort zone. That's why he's one of the
Mhm.
world's best coaches. He takes people totally out of their comfort zone. And it has a massive impact. It has a massive
Mhm.
impact. If you suddenly start to release your inner feelings, start to recognize those, start to open up. And that's not being vulnerable in a negative way.
Mhm.
It's just dealing with those emotions in a safe environment. You've got to find where is a safe
Mhm.
environment to do that.
Mhm.
Um, maybe it doesn't have to be with another human being. Um, I've got cats. Sadly, I lost my favourite. I love very deeply. Mary lost her 2 years ago, and Mary was an exceptional cat. She was extraordinary. She did things in her life that even the vets had never seen before. Displayed things, characteristics that science doesn't seem to have caught up with yet. Very extraordinary. But I could talk to Mary about things, about my emotions, and she was a very expressive cat. It's funny, they sense things, and you can talk
Mhm.
to
They
them in
sense a
you can
lot of
talk
things.
yeah, you can talk to them in any language. They understand the
Mhm.
feelings. They're very, very sensitive. If you have the
Mhm.
correct bond with an animal, it doesn't have to be a cat, it could be a dog, horse, whatever. If you have the correct bond with an animal, you can share your emotions. They're not going to go down the pub and tell their mates about it, are they?
Mhm.
You haven't got that worry. It's
Mhm.
about finding how you can open up. Some people nowadays, one of the latest things seems to be going back to tree hugging and getting to back to nature. Um,
Mhm.
I've been in that environment for. I studied landscape architecture, which is the same level as architecture. I studied that about 25 years ago. I finished my
Mhm.
master's in that, and I looked at the relationship between people and nature. It's fundamental. It's fundamental. Getting that connection back with nature. It's finding what you're comfortable with and where you can feel like you can open up and share your feelings. If you don't feel comfortable doing that with another person, find a pet, an animal, or nature, or just somewhere, something, or even just doing it in your head.
Mhm.
Just
Eh,
you've got to find
Yeah.
what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I had one guest actually, and that's what he was talking about. He was connecting mostly dogs, but also cat. Like
Mm,
one person, he said some of the clients had cats as well, and
yeah,
dogs with the men, which is like had trauma or something. And it
yeah,
he was connecting. He's connecting the animal and a man together to
mm,
deal with those emotions, exactly like you were saying.
yes,
Another
yes,
thing,
yeah,
Ed, as well, same thing you're pointing out that without talking with other men keep on bringing up that going for a walk in nature. So animals and
yes,
nature being one of the things that men keep on
absolutely.
bringing up.
Yes, it's a safe environment. Science has caught up with it now, and it's been proven for a very long time that access to nature is probably one of the best ways of de-stressing. And
Mm-hmm.
there's all sorts of reasons for that. There's the fresh air. There's just that reconnecting with nature. Um, I could probably talk at length about it, having studied.
Mm-hmm.
My master's was on a symbiosis between people and nature on a citywide scale. That's what I studied as a research and design study. So
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about it. Yes, nature in flora and fauna, plants, animals. We need that. We've been connected since the dawn of time. Get that connection back again, and it's amazing what you can find. And you often see people walking down a nice country lane, and they don't really notice much about it, or they're cycling and they're cycling past. They're missing the beauty of nature. They're missing that
Mm-hmm.
connection. And the more you observe, the more you get drawn in and reconnect. And we need to have that reconnection again. We need to find that happiness, and that it's calming. We need to find things that calm us. I know a lot of people believe in meditation or in different
Mm-hmm.
forms. Um, that's very effective. It's all about trying what works for you. Trying what works for you. Find ways to calm down. Taking that sort of step back from all
Mm-hmm.
the stress factors. Cut yourself off from things that don't bring value to your life and that cause stress or unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I very rarely share this with a little personal insight. I don't watch the news anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've stopped watching the news probably about 10, 15 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
just pick up a little bit on my phone and skip through anything really important. Other than that, no, I don't watch the news. It's too negative. It doesn't bring value into my life.
Yeah.
And most of it's about things that in places that I will never visit and people I'll never know. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting to know, but it, my life is so much better for not having that. And it's just finding the things that cause you upset and then finding ways to change. Because the only way you can improve your life, the only way you can find happiness is to identify what makes you unhappy and then work
Mm-hmm.
out how you can change that. What can you do about it? How can you switch that situation around? How can you adapt? And it's step by step. You've got to do step by step little bits. You don't try and do it all in one go. Just take little steps, draw yourself off. It becomes a habit. Everything becomes habit. It's
Mm-hmm.
ingrained in us. We're programmed basically by behavior. But behavior is something that can be changed. You can change
Yes.
it for yourself. You change it yourself. And if you can't manage it, get some coaching or some assistance from somebody else who could help you to change your habits. Recognize what you're doing that's not working for you, and to change it. So many ways you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I go back to the news right now, people have to
Mm,
understand with the news, uh, the way they present the news, it's just to make you fearful so they can make money.
yes,
So they don't present
absolutely.
the news in a proper way, just like,
No.
okay, this is news. They want
Mm,
to get emotion out of you so you keep on watching so they can make money. So
yes.
that's why the news right now is not good to watch as well. Maybe you watch it once
Mm,
a day, but you
mm,
don't have to know constantly every detail, because
no.
the reason they do it is just because they're making money out of advertising.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I used to watch the news, say probably a good 15 years ago, no doubt things have changed since then. But as you reduced watching it, you started to notice some peculiar things. Like when there was a very sad story or something disastrous happened, they present it with
Mhm.
a smile. When there's something really lovely happened, they would present it in a very deadpan, serious, unhappy way.
Hmm.
Why is
Have
that?
to.
You start to notice these sort of things. You think,
Mm-hmm.
hmm, something's not quite right here. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's only when you take the steps back that you start to notice things and you start to think. But some people love it. Some people love watching soaps. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely despise them. and,
Well,
and
if
I,
that, but that's the thing. If that makes you feel good instead of makes you
yeah,
feel angry or sad or scared,
yeah,
a lot of times the
yeah,
news make people feel scared, and then they
mm,
bring that fear into a life, and that
yes,
makes them
yeah,
not be able to be happy.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's. I could have a long talk about this. I understand the background to it, but we tend not to question things. We tend to accept things
Mm-hmm.
rather than question. There's some. I picked up on this when I was doing my masters all those years ago. But there are some fundamental ways that we are pre-wired into. We can change. That means that we don't like to question. And you can look at many aspects of life and just say, I'm going to be controversial here and say one example is religion. Religion is based on accepting things as fact and not questioning, generally. Not
Mm-hmm.
entirely, but generally
Mm-hmm.
you're told something happened and you must accept that and you mustn't question it because you're told that is the case and you must believe it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example. There are so many in life where we're taught to accept and not to question. And that's happened throughout most of history since the pre-ancient Greeks. That's happened. That's a lot of history to try and change. When
Mm-hmm.
you understand why, or even without understanding why, when you understand that you can actually start to question things and be comfortable doing so and that it's right, and actually society only evolves by a percentage of society questioning. That's the only way. Otherwise, society stagnates and it collapses. You must have controversial elements. You must have people who question. That's how everything evolves. So we should be comfortable with questioning in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not. Most people are not. They don't question their own behaviours. They don't question what's holding them back and stopping them from achieving what they want to achieve in life and their happiness. And yeah, we should do a
Mm-hmm.
lot more of that.
Yeah, there are some different religions in that do allow questioning, but
Mm,
some of the tradition depends on religions. That most of the religions that
absolutely.
people know, there's
Yeah.
no questions asked, like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
some that you're actually allowed to ask questions, and those are
Mm,
usually not as much as religions. They're more like belief
beliefs and
systems. Yeah,
yes.
belief
Yes. Yeah.
systems.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's cool as well. So we're getting closer to the hour went past by quite
Yeah.
fast. So um, before we gonna close out, Ed, I'm gonna let you talk
Mm,
about your business and what you're doing as well. And for the
thank you.
viewers, all the links and all the information for Ed is in the description as well. So look it up. But I'll let Ed
Yeah.
you tell about what you do.
Yes. Thank you. Um, so sorry. What I would say is the easiest way to reach me is via the website or via social media. You can find me on Facebook. I've got two Facebook profiles, one under my business, which is Finch Model, Finch as in the bird, model as in model airplane, I suppose. You can find me under Finch Model. I've also got a private Facebook group, which is open open to people to join. It's called Unconventional Entrepreneurs. And that group is for people who want to start a business and they're looking for more unconventional. They're looking for not the cookie cutter solutions. They're looking for open truth, honesty, being helped in an open way, and to be with people who are more open minded. So I host that group. I don't say I'm the admin, but I host that group. Um, my work is in coaching. So I coach people who want to start an online enterprise. Uh, it can be anything legal. It doesn't matter. And
Hmm.
I've coached people in so many different sectors. I'm often told by my own coaches, niche it down, narrow it down, work with, certain sectors. And I go, no, I don't need to.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I,
because
I've,
you.
over, over the last 30 years, I've worked with people from all kinds of industries, and it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. It's the principles behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I do is one of the things I do that's quite different from mainstream is most people, when they're coaching somebody who wants to start a business, they will focus on the business. They'll focus on the business structure, the process to build a business, and they will teach on the whole. They call themselves coach. Everybody calls themselves a coach. But most of them, honestly, are teachers, and they're teaching one or more systems. What I do is I coach the individual. And when I say coach, I focus on the person behind the business. Probably about
Hmm.
two-thirds of my work is on the person. The business comes out of the person. The business is a reflection of that person. So I'm actually coaching them to be the best version of themselves, and their business is the best version of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it actually addresses one of the issues, which is when people are wondering who to serve. If your business is about you, who you genuinely are, you will naturally attract the clients who resonate with that. It
Mm-hmm.
attracts the people that you're happy serving, rather than just trying to go out and find them. People start to find you if you're going about it in the right way. So
Mm-hmm.
I do coach them in ways to quickly get to market. I coach in simple processes, honest truth. I work with people who are coachable, and I have two programs at the moment. One is in the link, which is if people want to they haven't decided their niche yet, I can get them from confusion to launching a business in 6 weeks. I
Mm-hmm.
have another program which I'm just refining at the moment. I'm getting feedback on before I launch it, which is everybody has a quest in life. Everybody has some idea of their purpose in life. And this is an 8-week program to help them refine that, set it down as a set down the building blocks and the foundations to their quest in life, and to use that to found a business, to use that as a foundation stone. So the 8-week course is an intensive masterclass for their quest in life and how that impacts their daily life and their work life,
Mm-hmm.
starting running their own business. A lot of people are wanting to run their own business, but they're not quite sure how, and they're looking at all these cookie cutter solutions. These online get rich quick businesses, or coach programs that tell you how to
Mm-hmm.
structure starting a business. No, focus on you. There are very few coaches who say your business should reflect you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in the context of happiness. If your business reflects who you truly are deeply inside, one of the things I focus on is values, your personal values. If you found your business on those, it's much, much easier to build a business. It's much, much easier to decide the nuts and bolts and processes of a business. So, for example, how do you treat customers? Well, you don't need to work out policies and procedures. You've got your own values. It's who you are as a person, how you behave as a person. It's already there. You don't need to write something new. You already know the answer. You know when a situation or a problem comes up that's unexpected. You know how you're going to deal with it because it's you. It's you that's living your business and not the other way around. The business normally drives the person. I let the person drive the business.
Mm-hmm.
I've switched it around. So I deliberately do things differently. I've been like that for a long time. A
Mm-hmm.
little example, a very, very quick example is when I was a chief exec, one of the things I did, I looked at job descriptions, and people have this English edition. Um, it's not in my job description, so I'm not happy doing it. I'm unhappy because it's not in my job description. So I took job descriptions and metaphorically threw them out the window and just got rid of them altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And I replaced them with something totally different. And it was incredibly successful. In fact, I coached somebody who started a new job, who'd been working on his own, then worked with a team, and I coached him fully in my unique system I hadn't taught anybody else. He was then promoted on the back of his work with that small team, and
Mm-hmm.
he was offered the role of heading up a new head office in a new country off the back of what I coached him in. That's my
Mm-hmm.
biggest success and biggest happiness in life, that I was able to gift somebody that much value. So yes, that's basically what I do. And if it resonates with people, if that's something they're interested in, come and talk to me. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
suit everybody because not everybody will like the way I work or feel it's for them, and that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happily talk to people, give them value, give them help. Only if they want to work with me, they can come and ask to work with me, and I don't charge fortune either. I'm very, very reasonable. But I only
Mm-hmm.
want to end up working with the people who will get the most benefit from it. Everybody else, I'm happy to give them value and help them along the way
Mhm.
with their struggles and problems, and do as much as I can to help people. And yes, I do help people a lot, all the time. I've got clients at
Mhm.
the moment I'm helping, paid and unpaid. um, so yeah,
Because, like
that's
you
what
were
I do.
mentioning before as well, like that 30%, that 30% who wants to have that change and is
Mm,
connected to what you're giving to them, and the
mm,
other
mm,
30 is it's for somebody else. It's just like nobody is
yeah,
matching for everybody, no,
no,
it's just
no,
not possible. Everybody has different
yeah,
hobbies and different views of life and different
absolutely, yeah,
cultures, so completely okay.
yeah. Yes,
So
it doesn't suit everybody. I've gone through a number of different coaches. I haven't found
mhm,
one yet that actually keeps up with me, but I've got a value from each of them. They all have their own characteristics. When I
mhm,
first got into coaching, I was told, look at what everybody else does, learn from everybody else, then make it your own. You've got to have your own style. You've got to have your own ways. You just learn from everybody else and then make it your own. And
mhm,
that's what I do. And that's my advice for everybody else, is to look at what everybody else teaches or coaches and provides. But it's got to be you. You've got to understand yourself. If you understand yourself, and the more you understand yourself, the happier you're going to be, the better life
mhm.
you're going to lead.
Yeah, exactly. The more you understand yourself, that's so really important. Okay, we're gonna end up as well. Before we end, I always ask all the questions. Just two questions from all the guests. Uh,
Yeah.
Ed, what is your own personal happiness? What is your personal, not what other people think happiness is, but what your personal view of happiness?
My personal view of happiness is finding the your true love in life, and that can be people, it can be the things that you do, your passions in life. I don't mind giving some personal things. I'm amicably divorced. A year after I split up, I met somebody else. It was instant attraction, instant connection, and we've been together nearly 4 years now, and we tend to spend the rest of our lives together. We're both
Mm-hmm,
givers. We're from different cultures and different backgrounds, but we just absolutely connect, and we are so happy together. And that brings enormous joy to my life. And yes, there are times when we have our difficulties, there are times we
mm-hmm,
have our struggles, but that is also part of life. You've got to have the ups
mm-hmm,
and downs in life, and you've always got to think about the negatives in life, help you appreciate the positives more. And that to me is happiness. Don't let the bad things spoil your life. Don't dwell on them too much. Learn from them, and then just enjoy the happiness, enjoy the happier parts of life, and let the things that don't go well just be opportunities to learn from them. Just be opportunities to learn and to help you appreciate the happier things more, to enrich that.
mm-hmm.
That's my personal view.
And yeah, that's beautiful. And the other question is, name something about three items or things, really simple everyday things that make you feel happy in like momentary, or it doesn't have to be long pure happiness, but just like really simple things that make you feel happy.
Yes, that's. I mentioned one of them earlier on. Mary, my cat that I adore. Um,
Mm-hmm,
uh, she's actually buried in our garden, and I know that physically she's there, but her spiritually she's everywhere. She's all around,
mm-hmm,
and I connect with her on a spiritual level, and I draw a lot of happiness from her life and the joy that she's brought to my life all my life. So that would be one. Secondly, I know it sounds cliche, but my fiance,
mm-hmm,
enormous happiness, enormous happiness. Very, very proud of her and all the things that she brings, the joy she brings to my life. Even when even when we have problems and difficulties and downtimes, I love just being able to help her. We're both givers, but I just love the chance to love and be loved very
Mhm.
deeply and be myself, totally myself. You know, that's
That makes you feel
the
happy.
third. Yes, yeah. The third, I'm blessed to live in France and with a beautiful garden with woodland nature. Absolutely. Just getting out and reconnecting with nature. Spend a lot of time
Mhm.
indoors, so just that chance. I've got a few chickens out there as well, so I have to go out a few times a
Oh.
day to see to them. And but
Mhm.
yes, just that reconnecting with nature that brings
Mhm.
me enormous joy. I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
That's what helps me. Yeah,
Mhm.
there'll be a longer list than that.
Yeah, but I wanna
Hopefully,
point.
yeah.
The reason why I asked that is just to point out that for the viewers as well to
Mm,
look into their own life and see
mm,
what is theirs. Like when they hear
mm,
somebody else talk about what brings that other person happiness, then they start
mm,
thinking about, well, what is it for me? You
mm.
know?
Yeah,
So this way
yeah,
they hear other people saying, well, for me, these things make me feel happy. So for the viewers, they will start thinking like, well, what makes me happy? Have that
yeah.
question.
Yes, I think that when if people are in a situation where they're feeling everything is negative and they're feeling really down, what's actually happening there is that they are programming themselves into focusing on the negatives, focusing on what's what's missing. Um, I discovered a fantastic analogy recently. There's this classic hold a glass and it's half full, and some people are glass half full, and some people are glass half empty. And I use this on a little video on my in my private Facebook group. But the creative person isn't glass half full. They aren't glass half empty. They're a glass too big for the water that's in it. Think outside.
That's completely new. Yeah. So how do
Yeah.
you explain
Think
glass?
outside. The glass is too big for the water that it's holding.
Oh, okay. Too big for the water inside.
Yes. Your life, if you're constantly thinking about what you've got or what you haven't got, that's wrong. Broaden your perspective. Step back and look at it from a distance. Suddenly you see the world is different. The more you talk yourself into focusing on one part of your life, on the positives or the negatives, and particularly the negatives, the more you're programming yourself into thinking about that. Just as you program yourself the easier route to the negative, to the critical, you can start to reprogram yourself into thinking of the positives. You can start to reprogram yourself into thinking, actually, even if it's a tiny thing, what solution can I think of? And then the biggest challenge of all, how can I implement that solution? So I'm not just criticizing myself and my life, I'm thinking about something I can do about it. And then I'm taking it to the next level. I'm thinking about how do I implement that in my life, however small it is, one thing at a time. And you start to actually reprogram your mind and you get yourself out of that situation. It takes time. It will suddenly, it will just pick up at an exponential rate. You just do that, do that. Find the things that you can change, however small, one step, change it. Then do it. Think about it. Think of a solution, then do it. And it's amazing how quickly you can change your life and be happy.
Hmm. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And we're gonna end
Thank
with that advice.
you
So
very much.
take that advice, apply it to your life, everybody. And not tomorrow. I always mention that. Not tomorrow, today, right now. Start applying everything
But
that you're learning now. There's no
So
magical perfect time somewhere in the future. It's just now. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much.
Thank,
And thank you for
thank
all the
you.
viewers. And apply all the knowledge that you find from all these episodes. And give some feedback as well in a comment. So, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.